Justice League Warworld is a part of the Tomorrowverse. It is, I think, the 10th film of this new sort of timeline. Now, I didn't know anything about this movie, but I was already confused because the first segment of this movie is Wonder Woman as a cowgirl going into a small town and going up against Jonah Hex. And I'm like, I thought this movie was Justice League and Warworld. You know, if you're unfamiliar, Warworld is like a giant planet that is like a, I don't know if it can move around, but it's basically run by Mongol, a despot who pits people against each other in gladiatorial combat. And this movie didn't have Warworld or the Justice League. So the first segment is basically Wonder Woman as a cowgirl. And I thought this was maybe like just a side adventure, like this is an anthology movie, but it's not. The second segment is another anthology segment of Batman, but he's a caveman fighting Travis Morgan, Warlord, and then them going on a quest to kill Demos, the, you know, Morgan's arch nemesis. So it's like a sword and sorcery, a really great segment. I really like this segment. The whole movie should have just been this. But after those two, we find out another segment. It's a black and white story, 50s sort of paranoia alien thriller with Superman. But he's Agent Kent and he doesn't remember who he is. And he bumps into Diana Prince and Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne's another agent. He's a cop, I think, or something. And Diana's just like a woman there. And then we find out that the big reveal is that they are trapped in illusions. They are captured and on Warworld by Mongol, who's using Lobo as his enforcer. And that's kind of like the big hook. So they had these two sort of large segments that weren't that enjoyable. I mean, the movie's rated R, so there's lots of violence. And that kind of shook me a little bit because I'm like, oh, this is a different tone than what I'm used to. But the whole Warworld aspect didn't come into the last like 40 minutes and it was terrible. So basically Martian Manhunter was captured and he was being used to create illusions for the Justice League to trap them in these scenarios for some reason. I think the whole point of the scenarios was to create anger or something. And Warworld feeds off of the anguish of these clones or something. I'm not really sure. The plot is really strange. Lobo shows up and he's just like there. We've seen him before in the Superman Man of Tomorrow. And yeah, the movie's just really bad and generic. There's like a scene where the white Martians show up and they're nerfed. And they're just like generic foot soldiers that get smacked around in really boring action sequences. Lobo's just sort of there. And the movie ends abruptly because they're going to start the next movie, which is Crisis on Infinite Earths again. So this movie, it feels like a placeholder for starters. It doesn't feel like a movie. It's just, I thought it was going to be like an anthology film of just sort of stuff, you know, a fun cowboy adventure, then a sword and sorcery adventure, then a 50s alien thriller. But then, you know, they just waste time to get to the main plot of Warworld, and it's awful because we've seen Mongol before in the Justice League cartoon. And he's great in that. It's voiced by Eric Roberts. He's like very, not campy, but he's like very, I don't know the word. He's very like arrogant. And I love that performance from Eric Roberts. And that's missing from this. Mongol's just some guy that's like, oh, I want to create Warworld or something. And then the movie doesn't even, is not even interested in ending its own story. It literally ends with like abruptly with a character showing up and whisking our heroes away in the middle of a battle. So this movie's like, it feels like a waste of time. And, you know, the animation's fine, I guess, and it's rated R, but it feels like a nothing burger. So I give Justice League Warworld a 3 out of 10.